Surrender is not a white flag, giving up or giving in. Surrender is giving over to the infinite within. Surrender is not a prison, there are no borders where I live. Surrender is a freedom only letting go can give. Oh, whoa, oh, 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 oh. Whoa, oh, I'm letting go. Oh, I put a little rock into my roll. I'm letting go. Oh, oh, oh. The seeds of love will grow. I'm letting go. Oh, oh, so I can sing my song. I'm letting go. Oh, oh, 'cause I gotta let go to hold on. I'm in the trenches of the road, and I'm not living blindly. I said I've got my eyes open and I'm letting go. Oh, oh, whoa, oh, whoa, oh, 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 whoa, oh, I'm letting go. Oh, I put a little rock into my roll. I'm letting go. Oh, oh, oh. The seeds of love will grow. I'm letting go. Oh, oh, so I can sing my song. I'm letting go. Oh, 'cause I gotta let go to hold on. I'm not a pretender, but I'm a contender to be in surrender today. Don't be a defender of doubt, but remember that you are the light of your way. I'm not a pretender, but I'm a contender to be in surrender today. Don't be a defender of doubt, but remember that you are the light of your way. I'm letting go. Oh, I put a little soul into my bowl. I'm letting go. Oh, 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 'cause I know those seeds of love are gonna grow. I'm letting go. Oh, 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 so I can sing my song. I'm letting go. Oh, 'cause I gotta let go to. Gotta let go to. I've got to let go to hold on. Ooh, ooh. Let go, hold on, let go, hold on, let go. Hold on, let go, hold on, let go, hold on, let go. Hold on, let go, hold on, let go, hold on, let go. Hold on. Scrapes, burns, twists and turns, you might call me damaged. Nicks, cuts, dips and ruts, I've been bruised and bandaged. Every dark night leads to a new morning light, and all of my scars have turned me into a piece of art. Each fear, every loss and tear, all the hard goodbyes, lows, hits, all the dirt, all the grit, all of it has made me wise. Every dark night leads to a new morning light, and all of my sorrow gives me hope for a better tomorrow. It's when I'm falling, I feel so high, and when I'm crawling that I wanna reach out for the sky. And when I'm lonely, I can hold on to the truth. That is when I'm broken open. That's when the light comes Ins, outs, screams and shouts. Life is complicated. This is my wild ride. Hell no, I wouldn't trade it. But every love that's gone leads me to another love song, and all of my sorrow gives me hope for a better tomorrow. It's when I'm falling, I feel so high, and when I'm shakes you from the inside to remind you you're alive. There's always that part that wants to close up and die, but my heart heals with thick rope-like scars I use to pull me up to the clearing where I can see the stars. The next opportunity to try extra hard to embrace the dark and love with my ever-expanding heart. Love with my ever-expanding heart. My ever-expanding heart. Love with my ever-expanding heart.
Center for Spiritual Living, and happy Easter, everyone. My name is Reverend Kris Alexander. I'm the senior minister here at Celebration Center, and I am so excited for this service. We're going to have a wonderful time here this morning on Easter Sunday morning. So I am going to be giving the message. We are continuing our dive into the power of vulnerability with my talk this week on cracks and canyons. And we also have Lynn Hollyfield, our music director, coming in from beyond the ethers of time and space to offer our sing-along songs. And our special guest musician this morning is our very own Joyce Lindahl on piano. Let's give her a round of applause. It's exciting to get the piano out and dust it off and have an opportunity to hear her. She is a woman of many talents. She's also on all angles, and we're so excited to hear her play this morning. We also have Irina Kurasiewicz as our practitioner on platform. Let's give her a round of applause. And our fabulous tech team in the back doing all of the work to make sure that this is a seamless service, both online and in person. So let's give them a round of applause as well. If you are joining us for the very first time this morning, an extra special welcome to you. We are so glad that you are joining us this morning. Or if you're watching in the future and this is your first time checking us out, welcome to you no matter what time of day it is. We would love to get to know you a little bit better, and so we invite you to fill out a guest card. If you're here in the room, you can do that at our table right up front. Or if you're online, go ahead and scan this QR code or go to bit.ly/CCSL guest. That's going to take you to a form that just gives us a little bit of information so we can get to know you better, get you on our newsletter, our e-news, so that way you can find out about all of the good stuff we have going on here at the center. If you are joining us online this morning, welcome, welcome, welcome to you. I have a question for you this morning, and I really want to know the answer. And if you're in the room and you want to get out your phone and go to YouTube or Facebook and answer this question as well on the chat, just make sure it's silenced, but please do. Here's my very, very important question. Are y'all ready? When you're eating a chocolate bunny, do you go ears first, head first, or feet first? Ears first, ears. Online, what do you do? Ears first or butt first? What do you eat first? Where do you take the biggest bite? That's my question. I save the ears for last. I work from the bottom up. I do. You got to save the cute little face for last. All right, so that's my very important question that I have for y'all this morning. Be sure to answer us online. I want to know from home, if you're currently eating an Easter bunny, how are you eating it? If you have a prayer request, we would love to pray with you. You are welcome to go to celebrationcenter.org and click on the Request Affirmative Prayer button. You can also simply scan this QR code that's up there right next to me. We also have prayer cards if you're here in the room that you're welcome to fill out. All of that is going to go to, it's confidential. It goes just to our ministers and practitioners where we pray on them throughout the week. It also goes to our ministry of prayer made up of ministers and practitioners that meet on Mondays at 1:30 to pray for and with everyone. If you are joining us online, you are already poised and ready to just click that share button and share us out onto social media. So I invite you to do that at this time. Make sure that your friends and family can join you for the service this morning, even from far away. And we are continuing our toy drive this month. So this is for new toys for any age, any stage, any kid, any gender, anything, any toy that you would like. What I like to do for toy drives is I like to go to the toy section in the store and look around and go, what would I want to play with right now? Or what would 5-year-old me wanted to have played with? The answer is usually the same no matter how I ask that question. And then I grab the coolest looking toy on the shelf and get it. And all of those toys are going to be going to Lutheran Social Services. They have their new resource center in Alexandria, and they would like to be able to give a brand new toy to every single child that walks through the door with their parents for resources and support. And we would love to support them in making that happen. Now, in addition, Lutheran Social Services is going to be doing a refugee celebration event later in June, and we have signed up to host one of the art tables for the children. I'm super excited about this. We're going to be looking for volunteers, for people to donate art supplies or maybe money so that we can buy the art supplies for it. So keep an ear out. We're super excited about this. Miriam is heading it up as our art teacher extraordinaire, but she is going to need lots of help because they are expecting about 250 kids to come through the art tables in just 2.5 hours. So this is going to be a really cool event in June. We are also continuing our book sale. So in case you didn't notice, if you're here in person, when you walked in, there are books everywhere. Those books are dirt cheap, y'all. $1 for hardbacks, 50 cents for everything else. So come in, shop to your heart's content. We have literally hundreds of books. Tell all of your friends. You can scan that QR code and it goes to flyers that you can share out on social media. You can print them out. Go flyer your neighborhood, your coffee shop, random parking lots, whatever you would like. Let people know that this event is going on. We have had people stopping by at the center for this book sale who had no clue we were up here, but they saw it on social media. They saw the posters for it. So it's working, y'all. It's working, and we invite you to come check it out. We have freebies when you come in. We have bookmarks. We have brochures, things like that. This is a great way to not only raise money for the center, but also to get the word out there about who we are and where we are. As a reminder, the first Sunday of the month is mask optional coffee social hour and service. That is the first Sunday of the month. All other Sundays, masks are still required, and we're doing this to try to create lots of opportunities for people to come and feel welcome in the space in whatever way works for them. Now, whether you would rather not wear a mask and therefore not come on the mask required days, or wear a mask and not come on the mask optional day, which you're always allowed to wear a mask, it does not matter whether everybody else is or not, you are always invited to join us from home, from the comfort of your home for the service, if that is what works better for you. Next week, we are beginning Change for Change. And so this is a really awesome event that we are putting on. Basically, it's the idea that a small amount of change can make a big change in the world. So we have piggy banks for y'all. You're going to name your piggy bank next week at the service, and then we'll have an opportunity to decorate it at Art Night with Miriam the following Friday. fill your piggy bank once a quarter. We'll collect all of that change here, and then everybody who donates gets to have a vote on where we put that money. Now here are the piggy banks. Tell me those aren't the cutest things ever. They are, right? Yes. So you're going to want to come next week, April 16th, to pick up your piggy bank and give it a name. And we're going to have a naming ceremony. If you are one of our online members or attenders, feel free to drop a chat or email me at reverendkris@celebrationcenter.org, and we will make sure to mail you your piggy bank so that you can participate in this event as well. And if you are from home, we are going to ask that you don't mail us change, but rather collect your change. You put it into your own bank, figure out how much it is, and then just donate that amount, and we will have a fund created for that online. You can send a check if you would like, yes, but since you're here in the room, Melinda, you can just bring us your change. Either way, however you want to do it. We will take change for change to change the world in any way that you would like to give it to us. Checks for change, change for change. I don't know. Credit card for change. Venmo for change. PayPal for change. Stocks and bonds for change. Whatever you would like to do. And then finally, you may have noticed, and y'all online, can you see any? You cannot see any. If you are here in the room, you may notice that there are not only Easter eggs, earnest eggs, like this, hidden everywhere. That's right. It's an Easter egg with Ernest's head on it. But there are also little mini pastel-suited Ernest Easter Bunny figurines all over the center. So we are going to be doing a physical Easter egg hunt for those of us in the room immediately following the service. But wait, if you are joining us online or here in the room at 12:30, we have Ernest Easter Egg Extravaganza, Easter egg hunt and party that is hybrid. We are going to be doing a virtual Easter egg hunt. How cool is this? I am so excited to offer this. It's really, really, really fun. We also have Easter movie trivia, Easter trivia. We have more fun questions about which direction you eat chocolate bunnies from and such. We have snacks. We have all kinds of things. So be sure to stick around after the service, whether you are here in the room or online. Online, join us at 12:30 by going to celebrationcenter.org and clicking on Enter Zoom Events. And now I have the most special thing ever. I went to visit Andy Murphy this past week, and he told me a joke. Would y'all like to hear Andy's joke? All right.
Probably didn't know that Jesus' real name was Andy.
I did not know. How do you know that Jesus' real name was Andy?
And he walks with me and he talks with me and he tells me lies.
Oh, thank you so much, Andy. He is full of jokes like that. I love going and seeing him because he tells me jokes and we have beautiful, rich conversations full of laughter and seriousness all the time. So please, prayers up for him. He still has some health stuff going on, but also it's a great check-in for y'all to see his beautiful face. So thank you, Andy. And with that, we are going to invite Lynn from Beyond Time and Space for our opening song this morning.
To celebrate life, shine like stars in a brilliant night sky, here for each other in joy and in pain. Grateful for this family, our beloved community. The love we share is sunshine we're together, greater, stronger, all is well. When we're together, it feels like home. Kindred spirits, we're never alone. Let's join hands and sing out a song. Music is the food of love. At this table, there's more than enough. At this moment, take a breath and sing along. All is well when we're together, greater, stronger, all is well. All is well when we're together, greater, stronger, all is well. We come together to celebrate life, shine like stars in a brilliant night sky, here for each other in joy and in pain. Grateful for this family, our beloved community. The love we share is sunshine after rain. All is well when we're together, greater, stronger, all is well. All is well when we're together, greater, stronger, all is well. All is well. All is well.
Practitioner here at the center. Let's start with the affirmation of our vision. It will show up in a minute on the screen. Take a deep breath and read with me. We are celebrating spirit within and knowing the oneness of humanity. Isn't that a wonderful affirmation of our vision? So my reading today is from the fabulous thing that we have. It's a spiritual tool, I call it the Guide for Spiritual Living, the Science of Mind magazine. There are good articles. There are some people who write those articles will know, like we read an article by Rev Ryan. I hope Rev Kris is coming there too. And it's a good everyday support, because for every day there is a reading, a quote, and a food for thought, I would say that. So my reading is from today, the reading for today, and every month different people, different practitioners and ministers write their thoughts. So the April was written by Louise Talon, and Louise PhD and a practitioner. She has a PhD and a practitioner. The resurrection is the death of the belief that we are separated from God. From death is to the illusion alone and not to reality. And from this quote, I invite you to take a deep breath. And if you're comfortable, close your eyes and feel the support of the chair. And let's start this sacred time with a square breathing. We will do 3 circles. Breathe in, hold, breathe out. Breathe in, hold, and breathe out. And again, breathe in, hold, and breathe out. And Lewis says, today is the day Christians celebrate Easter, Western Christians. The holiday honoring Jesus' resurrection and the hope of eternal life. Easter likely has its origin in pagan springtime rituals and represent the renewal of life the season brings. After a winter of dormancy, life returns in spring. Flowers bloom, trees leaf out, animals come out of hibernation, birds ramp up their singing. Life quickens again, part of the natural cycle of the world. So too, humans have cycles. Sometimes we are productive and active. Other times we are dormant, hibernating, quiet. It is natural to feel differently at different times in a year or in life. Cycles of activity and rest appear throughout the natural world, and these cycles are necessary for our growth. One way to think of this is like snakes shedding their skin. Snake bodies continue to grow, but their skin does not, so they must shed their old skin to stay alive. We can think of Easter this way. It is a time to shed or let die off that which is old, so we have room to grow and welcome in the new. And I know that this cycle, the cycle of life, is what God is. As God is life, God is all there is. And as God is life and all there is, it means that I am. I am all that God is. I recognize my oneness, right here, right now, and forever. There is no veil that separates me from the divine. And recognizing my oneness, I am grateful to know the oneness of all. I know that there is no one or nothing that is outside of God. It is all one. We are all one. And all the God qualities belong to everyone in this room, to everyone who hears my voice right now or will never hear it. I just know divine wholeness, divine order, divine time, peace, harmony, joy, love, beauty, bliss, clarity, and wisdom. And every time it's time to shed something old, we know that those qualities are there to fill the gaps, to fill the need. And I know divine comfort, divine love for our beloved Andy and Terry Murphy. I know that they're surrounded by love of people and by love of God. And I know that today, people who celebrate Easter, they have enough. They have enough love, enough joy, enough food, enough peace. And I know that every day is a new day, God's day, divine day, universal day. And I'm so grateful to know that this opportunity of new is always available, not only on Easter. And I'm so grateful to know the truth about God, about myself, about everyone, about oneness, about one source. And I simply let it be in deep, deep gratitude. And so it is.
The music that I'm going to be playing is called El Shaddai. It means God Almighty. It was originally written by a Christian writer, Amy Grant, and it was popularized many years ago. She uses a lot of Hebrew words in the music. And today, or this season, happens to be a season of Ramadan, Easter, and Passover. So I'd like to dedicate this music to peace with us all. We don't have the words here, but you can look them up on YouTube if you like.
Thank you, Joyce. That was beautiful. Oh, okay, there we go. Thank you. I love that song. I was singing parts of it along in my head, and you are welcome to look up the words on YouTube, is what Joyce had said. That was a beautiful rendition. Thank you. So, we are continuing our journey into vulnerability today, and today we're going to talk about the things that get in the way of vulnerability. So if y'all recall last week, we talked about what vulnerability is and what it is not. And so just to actually give y'all a little bit of a reminder about that, vulnerability is... Oh, hold on. Where's my definition? Here we go. According to Brene Brown, vulnerability is a state of emotional exposure that comes with a certain degree of uncertainty. It involves a person's willingness to accept the emotional risk that comes from being open and willing to love and be loved. And so we talked a lot last week about how vulnerability requires courage. It requires boundaries. It requires clear communication. It requires self-awareness. It requires connection. That vulnerability is a two-way street, and it requires both people or the entire group of people to be willing to come together in a vulnerable way. And so today I wanted to talk about, well, what gets in the way of vulnerability? Because it sounds challenging on the surface of it, and we know that that's true because if vulnerability was easy, since it is the gateway to loving and being loved, if it was easy, everybody in the whole world would be doing it, and we'd have a world of safety and security and vulnerability and love and loving, and it would just be all roses and butterflies and rainbows and peace and perfection. But that's not the world that we have. So there must be things that get in the way for people to choose not to express vulnerability, whether that choice is unconscious or conscious. So that's what I wanted to talk about today. Now, the first and probably the biggest canyon to vulnerability is fear. And as we know, we hear all kinds of things, that courage is feeling the fear and doing it anyways, that bravery is not the absence of fear, but the choice to move through the fear, all of these things. And I would say that that is true for vulnerability, but that the idea of opening ourselves up to risk and uncertainty is scary. It is. This is a challenging thing to do. It is a challenging thing to open our heart wide and say, I know you can hurt me, and I don't know how you're going to respond, but I'm going to open my heart anyways. Now, I was thinking about, like Irina, maybe Joyce. One of y'all mentioned Joyce. I'm pretty sure it was you when you were talking about El Shaddai. This is the season of Passover and Easter and Ramadan, right? And so I was thinking about Passover. Now, Passover is a Jewish tradition, and what it is celebrating is the liberation of the Jews from the slavery in Egypt. And I think most people have heard this Bible story in the book of Exodus, the Old Testament. And so basically the Jews were in slavery, and Moses, as a baby, he was a Jew, and the Pharaoh was killing off all of the baby boys. And so his mother sent him down the river in a basket, and the Pharaoh's wife found him and took him in and raised him as her own. And she didn't tell him until he was older that she had found him, that he was not, in fact, a biological child of hers. And when he discovered that, and when he found out that he was of Jewish descent, all of a sudden he could no longer tolerate what he was seeing, the treatment of his people. And so he ran away for many, many years until God called him back. And God came down to him in a burning bush and said, and maybe this happened, maybe it's metaphorical, we don't know, but it's a good story and it can teach us a lot of things. So just go with me here. Whether you believe this happened for real or not is not important. So anyways, God came down in a burning bush and he told Moses that he was going to free his people from slavery in Egypt. And Moses said, oh no, who am I, right? But eventually he goes to the Pharaoh and he says, let my people go. And Pharaoh says, no. Why would I, right? And so over the series of 10 days, God brings 10 plagues down on the Egyptian people. There's blood in the rivers, there's locusts, there's frogs, there's all of these horrible things that make life just really, unfortunately, painful for the Egyptian people. And the final plague is the plague that finally makes Pharaoh go, fine, take your people and go. Get out of here. I never want to see y'all again. And that plague is the one where God came down and killed the firstborn son of every Egyptian person in the land. And in order for the Jewish children to be spared, they put blood on their door. The blood of a lamb on their door, and God passed over them, hence the name Passover. And so this celebration is the celebration of freedom from slavery, but I began to think about the level of fear that that the Jewish people had in that moment. That's what I was thinking about this week, because okay, you know, you're going along, you're agreeing with whatever God says, you're doing what he tells you. There's been frogs, there's been blood, there's been this, there's been that. Moses is telling you all is going to be well, and you're like, okay, it sure doesn't seem like it, but whatever, right? And you're preparing to go free, but the Pharaoh keeps saying no, and it's just this huge time of turmoil and uncertainty. And I'm assuming the Egyptians are pretty angry at this point because they are having to deal with all kinds of stuff they don't want to deal with. And then God says, I'm going to kill all the firstborn sons, but you'll be spared if you put the blood of a lamb over your door. And I just think about that night. They've done it. They've listened. They've had faith in what God has told them to do through the voice of Moses. And they're sitting there. And I'm wondering, what did they hear? What was the experience in that moment of listening to whatever this God thing was? And once again, we don't know if this actually happened or if this is a metaphor, but that's okay. What would it be like to sit in your house and know that you or someone you loved is only inches from death, and you have to open yourself and be willing to be vulnerable to something you don't understand, and that is the only thing that could spare you? Now, what I liken it to is a hurricane or a tornado, and the fear that must be felt when the tornado sirens go off and you run down into your basement and you're sitting there wondering if all of your loved ones are safe, the ones that aren't with you there in the basement, or you're wondering, is your house going to be okay? That level of vulnerability that is required to be a human on the planet, and how much fear that naturally brings up. And so for us to say, well, to be vulnerable, you have to face your fear, those are instances. The Jewish people didn't have a whole lot of choice in being vulnerable and having faith, right? When a tornado or a hurricane comes, you do what you have to do. You don't get to choose, I'm going to be vulnerable to this situation. It simply is a situation in which you are vulnerable. And so for what we are asking of emotional vulnerabilities to have to face that level of fear, but as a conscious choice to open yourself up. And now, no, other people are not hurricanes or tornadoes or God striking down firstborn children. And yet, doesn't it feel like that sometimes? That first time that we tell a beloved person that we love them, or when we let our child go off to school for the first time, like we have a whole lot of choice, or we let go of a home that we've lived in, or the day we went off to school, or whatever it is, life is full of vulnerability that brings up great fear. And so, of course, it's only natural that if we have a choice between being vulnerable or not, that unless we are actively, intentionally choosing to move past the fear, the natural reaction is going to be like, no, I'm already vulnerable enough in other areas. No, I'll just not say I love you, even though I do. And so it requires great intention. And yet, that is the gateway to authenticity. That is the gateway to love. That is the gateway to deeper connection and intimacy. Because if both people are both not telling the other person how they feel, then that relationship can never fully blossom. Now, the next thing that gets in the way of vulnerability is uncertainty. How much of our lives is uncertainty, and how much of it do we want to pretend that we have control over? How many times are we put into positions where we really don't have control, when we're waiting to hear if we got that job and we've done everything that we can do, and now it's up to the other people, and we're just left in this place of uncertainty? Or that moment after telling somebody that we love them for the first time, and we're just waiting, probably holding our breath in the uncertainty of not knowing what they're going to say next. Or the uncertainty of sending our children off to school, or hearing about our grandchildren or our nieces or our nephews or our friends' children, and not knowing if they're going to make friends, or if they're going to be bullied, or if they're going to do well in school, or if they're going to succeed in college, or whatever it may be. Life is full of uncertainty. And we try to counter this by pretending that we have control over our entire lives. If we only say the right things, eat the right things, go the right places, live the right places, buy the right car, show up in the right way, say the correct thing to the correct person at the correct moment, then life will all turn out okay. But we know that that's not actually the case. That's why bad things happen to good people and good things happen to bad people. And we have all of these sayings around what we think should happen, the way life should be, and yet it isn't, because life is vulnerability and uncertainty. And so I think about Jesus. So Easter is the day that we celebrate Jesus' resurrection from the dead. Once again, we don't know if this really happens. There's lots of people that say lots of different things about this. And so I invite you, I remember the first time somebody said, well, the resurrection is just a metaphor. It didn't happen for real. And I clutched my pearls. I was like, oh my goodness, where is the lightning? You are gonna be struck down. You just said that from the pulpit, right? And yet, in order for us to learn from Jesus, it's not important whether we believe that this story happened for real, exactly the way it is in the Bible, or if we believe that it was a metaphor, or perhaps it's just a parable, or a myth, or whatever it is. However you choose to look at this story, I think there is something that we can learn from Jesus about vulnerability. And so I'm not asking you to change whether you think that Jesus really rose from the dead or not. I'm asking you to go into the story with me. And so Easter is when we celebrate Jesus' resurrection. And so, as y'all may or may not know, if you were raised in any sort of Christian or Catholic background, I'm sure you've heard this story many times, but on Palm Sunday, Jesus rode into Jerusalem on a donkey, and they put down the palm branches, and it was all beautiful and magnificent, and he was celebrated as this amazing teacher, and he was going to be the next leader, and it's going to be so incredible. And yet, in the span of less than a week, by Friday, once again, maybe it was actually Friday, maybe it was not, but by Friday, so Sunday to Friday, 5 days later, he was crucified on the cross. And he knew, according to the story, he knew that this was going to happen. He went into the Garden of Gethsemane and he prayed and he asked God, his Father, to take this pain and suffering away from him. And he cried and he wept and all of these things. And yet, he still went through with it. Now, what's interesting to me is we kind of focus on the resurrection and we focus on how he also knew that he was going to be resurrected. So he knew that he was really, in the grand scheme of things, really only giving up a weekend, right? It's okay. He gave up a weekend for humanity, and that's all well and good. And yet what I was thinking about in this idea of vulnerability and uncertainty is that he really didn't know what that process was actually going to entail. He didn't know the type of pain that he would be facing. He didn't know the suffering. He didn't know how his friends were going to respond or if they were going to be safe. That in that moment, Jesus was asked to open his heart up and be vulnerable to a situation in which he was giving himself. He was releasing control over his own body and giving himself over to people who did not care for him. And he was allowing himself to be so vulnerable that he showed the whole world the next level of love. Now, whether that love was saving all people or whether that love was simply showing us that death is not the end, that life does continue after that, which is what we believe in Science of Mind, is that Jesus was the great example, not the great exception. And so he was willing to go through that suffering, to open himself up to vulnerability, to show thousands and billions and trillions of people that we are eternal God beings. And how profound is it that he was willing to be that uncertain? And finally, the last thing that gets in the way of vulnerability is comparison. We like to compare ourselves to other people. We like to find out if we're doing it right. And then if we're not doing it right, then we shut ourselves off and we put up all of our masks and we stop being vulnerable so that we can do it the right way and get the right reaction. But that is not vulnerability and authenticity. Now, Glennon Doyle, in her book Untamed, tells a story about her two daughters. She has an older daughter who is very cautious and very internal, and she has a younger daughter who is very much like, run out into the world and figure it out as you go kind of thing. And she took them to get their ears pierced. And the younger daughter immediately jumped into the chair and she's like, oh, let's do this, right? And they pierced her ears and she wiped away her tears and she's like, yeah, right? And the older daughter observed the younger daughter sort of bolting in with all holds barred and all of that. And then she turned to her mother and she said, I don't want to do this today. I'm not ready for this today. And what Glennon said is that the ear piercer said, oh, look at your little sister. She was so brave. Can't you be brave too? And what Glennon did was she turned to her daughter in that moment and she said, what's even braver than pushing through your own internal voice is to stand up and say, I'm going to listen to my voice despite what other people outside of me may think. And so what Glennon says in her book Untamed is, brave does not mean feeling afraid and doing it anyway. Brave means living from the inside out. Brave means in every uncertain moment, turning inward, feeling for the knowing, and speaking it out loud. Since the knowing is specific, personal, and ever-changing, so is brave. Whether you are brave or not cannot be judged by people on the outside. Sometimes being brave requires letting the crowd think you're a coward. Sometimes being brave means letting everyone down but yourself. And I would say that the bravery that allows you to step outside of comparison and to live from the in out, the inner outward, that is true vulnerability. That is the vulnerability that allows for connection, because the more that we do that, the more we give other people permission to live from the inside out. The more that we want people in our inner circle that are going to be willing to look like a coward in front of us to stand true to themselves. That is true vulnerability. When we can let go of fear, we can let go of the uncertainty, we can let go of the need to compare ourselves with others, and instead just open ourselves up, open our hearts big, and say, this is who I am, and this is how I'm choosing to step out into the world. So let's pray. And so I know that there is God and nothing else, this thing that we call God, and yet it really is so much more than any singular name that we could put on it. That as soon as we name it, we know it is not that, it is greater than that, because it is infinite, absolute, and eternal. It is beyond our wildest imaginings. It is space and time and outside of space and time. It is the universe, the multiverse, and beyond. It is all-encompassing. The very smallest atoms and cells and protons and neutrons and electrons, and all simultaneously the largest galaxies, nebulas, quarks, black holes. It is all of it. And so we know that we are that too. We are made of the same God stuff that black holes and stars are made of. We are built from the very building blocks of the divine, and so therefore we are sacred in and of our own selves. And therefore vulnerability is our birthright. Authenticity is our truth. And we can choose to stand in our own truth, and we can choose to open our spaces up to be safe, to allow people to belong in their own authenticity and vulnerability. And we belong. We belong here at Celebration Center. And so I am so grateful for this space where vulnerability and authenticity are celebrated. I am grateful for the space that is truly welcoming to all. And so I simply release my word. I let it go. I know it is done as I have spoken. And so it is. And now we have another song from Joyce. Oh, we do not have another song from Joyce. That is absolutely okay. Let's take a deep breath. So take all of that in, and in this moment, it is time for our gifts and our offerings. And so just to let you know, you being here and opening up your heart and loving the center and loving the space, that is an act of authenticity and vulnerability, and we are grateful for it. Whether you are here in the room, whether you are watching us online, whether you are joining us online this morning or watching us in the future, whatever it may be, that you are a gift and a blessing to the center, and we are so grateful for you showing up 100% as yourself. And so if you have a donation for us today, that is how we keep this is how we have the technology and the means to offer all of the services and events that we have here at Celebration Center. There are a couple of different ways you can give your gift. If you're here in the room, we have our table right up front. You can also scan this QR code or go to celebrationcenter.org and /give or click the give button. /donate. Or just go to celebrationcenter.org and click the give button. All of that is going to take you to our Secure Breeze website where you can donate. And now I would like to invite Irina up for an affirmation and blessing.
Let's start with the affirmation. Divine love as me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. What a wonderful affirmation. And I know the prosperity and abundance flow through the hearts and the souls and the wallets of all the members and the friends of the Celebration Center. I know abundance and prosperity for the center because even today in the morning, there were people buying books because we are here, because the lights are on, we have this space, we have this prayed up space that is available for so many things. And I know that this energy of love and bliss and harmony and prosperity flows through this room and goes out in events and go outside and shift the world. And I'm so grateful to know that this energy comes back to each and every member and a friend of the Celebration Center and our friends and relatives in the whole world. That's how the law of circulation works. And I simply accept it with deep gratitude. And so it is.
I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life. My heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life. And my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I am only here for God. I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life. And my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. Yes, I'm free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God.
Whew, let's give Lynn a round of applause. Let's give Joyce a round of applause. Oh, Irina, a round of applause. Yes, thank you all so much. So as a reminder, we have an awesome hybrid Easter party planned. So if you are here in the room, stick around. We have snacks. And if you are online, join us at 12:30 by going to celebrationcenter.org and clicking on Enter Zoom events. There are even prizes. That's right, prizes. So you are going to want to stay for this event. And now I invite you to say our affirmation along with me. Oh, not along with me. Repeat it after me. I allow wonderful things to happen through me right now. I have courage to be vulnerable. I show up authentically in every moment. I create brave and safe spaces for myself and others. I allow others to be fully themselves. I am worthy simply because I am. And so it is.